Dun, 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 bum, 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 bum. Hello and welcome to Comic Island. My name is Arden. This is my review of Wonder Woman Dead Earth number 4. So, earlier on in this year, I reviewed Dead Earth issues 1 through 3, which I picked up a digital copy of each. So, this is my first print copy of the final issue. I liked that book so much that when I saw the fourth book was finally coming out after some pandemic-y delays, I was very excited to pick it up and very glad that I did get at least one of these in print form because all these black issue books or black label books are really great, well done. I like their oversized, ad-free, extra long nature. And in general, Dead Earth number 4 very much lives up to all of the cool ideas and content floated in the first 3 books. It's a nice, satisfying ending to a great little series, and just another huge notch in the success of Black Label's belt. Though that aspect of it has some bittersweet notions, as this book was edited by Andy Corey, who is one of quite a few people who was laid off at DC recently and was a big proponent of Black Label. So yeah, there is like that bittersweet angle to it all. There's a few names on here that don't work with DC anymore. But that aside, with Daniel Warren Johnson doing excellent story and artwork that is right in line with the rest of this series and conveying a fun apocalyptic story, like just post-apocalypse story, that really zeroes in on Wonder Woman's character in a fun way. She's drawn in just such a cool way that comes together nicely by the end of this book. Mike Spicer adds a lot of excellent life to this book in the form of his coloring, and then Russ Bouton does lettering. So that's sort of my spoiler-free review. Going into the book, we begin with the flashback, a flashback I should say, but specifically what happens to Batman, basically leading up to his death, where we find him just lying on his couch, very relaxed, in the middle of an apocalypse, which was an odd pose, but given the nature of this flashback, it made sense. I remember commenting on that in my review of the first 3 issues and thinking, like, it's a little weird the way Batman was just kind of sitting there. Hello, Adrian. Thanks for joining us in the stream today. But yeah, so it's just kind of about Wonder Woman, or like Batman setting up Wonder Woman in her little pod thing. He says some pretty interesting stuff with regards to how he feels about saving Wonder Woman after she broke the world. It's pretty interesting as an opening for this book. Meanwhile, Wonder Woman, Superman, and her human friends are rushing off to join the rest of the human race in their sort of last stand against the mutant Amazons. um, that battle begins, and its scale and size kind of reminds me of like almost a like Lord of the Rings type fight, but not the kind of overblown stuff we got in the third Hobbit movie, but more of a proper battle with stakes and great action. Some pretty key deaths along the way of various human characters we've known, and some of the Amazon figures. The Superman robot has a great little moment where he's trying to reason with these creatures and he just gets chomped good. This battle goes on for some time, and Wonder Woman basically gets knocked down by Nubia, her former trainer, and brought to her mother. Um, at that point, they like basically one of the humans was given something by the Superman robot, and he says like, you need to use this when the time is right, but it's kind of up to you. I, representing Superman, can't make this decision, but this device will give Wonder Woman her powers back. You, the human race, her victims, need to decide whether or not Wonder Woman deserves this second chance. So this woman decides to do that, and she kind of rushes forward. Um, and manages to inject Wonder Woman and restore her powers. And then we get kind of another battle, but it's basically just Wonder Woman turning on like the Amazons, and with her new powers, like her old powers, I guess, um, she just decimates them. And the whole battle really, I don't know. When I was reading it, I really enjoyed all of the, like, I was basically imagining Wonder Woman's theme from her 1984 trailer playing and stuff. Like, it just had a great action and flow to it. Swinging around like Superman's spine and stuff. Tevia, Victor, thanks for joining me. Um, it's all just a really well put together battle. And Wonder Woman's left standing over her mother, who she basically refuses to kill, and the woman goes kind of slinking off. It's a pretty good little moment. Then we get like an even better one, because Wonder Woman's kind of just left with all of these mutant corpses surrounding her, and she just starts digging her fallen brethren and stuff. And something really amazing happens. Like the human race that had been killed by these creatures, and it's really just the survivors standing among them. They start helping her out. They don't. No one really says anything. They all just work together to do this for her. Uh, Wonder Woman and Cheetah are then seen at Themyscira, but there's no sign of her mother. And Dee, the human that like saved Wonder Woman, later wakes up on Paradise Island, like Themyscira. And the human race is basically settled here, like Wonder Woman promised. Took them a little while, but like they got there, kind of thing, as they say in the book. And Wonder Woman and her kind of have a conversation just about like where they should go from there, given what has happened with Wonder Woman and all of that stuff. And it ends with Wonder Woman kind of offering Dee her hand. And the final line in this book is, "Will you help me revive this dead Earth?" And I really teared up at that moment, because it was just this sweet and sincere little ending. I thought it was nicely put together, and like I said in my kind of spoiler-free part of this review, just a moving take overall, and nicely paid off what we had seen before. And that, coupled with the work done by the creative team, left me quite fulfilled. And yeah, it is a little bit of a bittersweet moment, given that like a huge driving force behind these Black Label books is no longer with DC. But it is important to remember that those cuts were kind of just across the board at Warner Brothers and AT&T. I don't think there's a lot to the rumors about like DC being scaled back in terms of comics and stuff. I think overall it was just an unfortunate reality of the pandemic and stuff like that. So hopefully it doesn't mean the end of these Black Label books or anything like that, because they really do have a lot of potential, and they have been selling well. So I would imagine that they should be a pretty consistent force in terms of something we can expect out of DC going forward. And Tevi is saying, yeah, those cuts were more corporate cutbacks. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not too broken up about that at the moment. But yeah, that's it for all the books that I managed to pull last week. I think next, or like what's coming out tomorrow, should be relatively light, which will give me some time to work on some other stuff. So thanks for everyone joining me in the stream. Just a quick little thing on Wonder Woman, but I talked a lot about Dead Earth already, and you can go ahead and check out that video if you're curious about more opinions. I think this fourth issue really is just a solid ending to a book, and you really can't ask for much more than that out of that. Adrian follows up on some stuff I was saying earlier. I think Warner Brothers didn't invest right, so people had to pay due to like across the board. Yeah, like they were really invested heavily in like satellite television and like back in the 90s, and obviously that didn't pay off So things didn't work out great for them in terms of that. Like it is complicated, and then they also think that like there were costs to the pandemic and stuff. I think they did some things pretty right, but overall they did a pretty good job at sort of crafting this story that, or like, sorry, no, sorry, I got sidetracked there. What I was gonna say is they did a pretty good job at least getting rid of some of the more expensive, older employees, which is very rough for them. But at least they're not cutting back the lower level entry people who can kind of rise up to take their place. And hopefully, DC isn't doomed. Tevia says, hopefully with Bob Harris gone, we can finally get a universe that makes sense. Well, and that's the other side of it too. Just because Andy Curry, who was a very positive force in the world of DC, is gone, doesn't mean that every person we lost at DC was necessarily that bad. Bob Harris being a chief one among them, that's someone who we were put, like, there were calls for him to resign as little as a month ago because he harbored really abusive employees over the years that we kind of recently found out about. And there's really no love lost from me with that guy going. There's a lot of love lost from Andy Curry because he gave us Wonder Woman Dead Earth, which was truly phenomenal. So yeah. I knew that DC stuff would trickle into these streams slowly as we talk about those news, but it's not the end of the world the way some people have reacted to it. I think it will change a little bit, and Jim Lee did have some interesting comments in those regards, but Fandom was a pretty good exploration of the future of DC Comics, which I think very much has to include comics, and they don't. No one is mistaken in that regard. That they cut some of their bottom selling books is unfortunate, but not surprising. That they are talking a lot about moving more towards like shorter standalone things isn't the end of the world either, because we get stuff like this Dead Earth business, and that's pretty cool too. Okay. Well, yeah, thanks Adrian and Tevin in particular for chatting and stuff. Um, Too bad Victor wanted to comment like a 12-year-old, so he will no longer be joining us. It's so easy to get shadow banned, or like to shadow ban people. I don't know why anyone bothers. Like, oh well. See you guys tomorrow, though, as we review some of those new comics, and I'll see you guys then.